I think a lot of people like looking back in their 20s and say things like, oh my gosh, like time has flown by so quick. The past 5 years have been really fucking slow. It's been so slow. A couple days before I turn 25, I want to take you on just the last 5 years, talk about some of the things and the lessons that I've learned during this time. How do I remember all 5 years? Well, I don't have a job right now, so all I have is me in this room and my thoughts. Anyways, I'm gonna expose myself.
I cannot complain, cause they know 자꾸 날 찔러대도 시간만 낭비라고.
I can never lose. What your haters gonna do? What you gonna do? Doobie doobie doo. I don't make the rules. You'll never catch me putting on the news. Amen. God is real. I'm the living proof. Wishing that we fail. 그건 망상증. Epic high you shit to make your car sound. It's all time.
I'm gonna cut right to the chase. This period, absolutely awful. I was dealing with so much depression. I had so much anxiety. I had panic attacks all the time. I was having a lot of issues with school, my personal life, relationships, my social life, all happening at once. And I went to the one thing that I could rely on to make myself feel better. Alcohol. I take shots when I wake up. I take shots before class, shots during class, shots before bed, shots when I want to escape reality, and never any chasers. Just no chasers, all pain. So to my current friends, if you're wondering why I don't chase after shots, this is the unfortunate origin. I was a junior in college. I had no direction in my life. I felt extremely worthless. The lowest point was when I began harming myself from alcoholism. And that was when I kind of woke up and understood my first lesson in my 20s. That no one is going to tell you what to do or how to solve your problems. Throughout your childhood, you are surrounded by parents, adult figures, older relatives, and teachers telling you, do your homework, practice the violin, take your practice tests, eat your vegetables. And when you get older, you're in charge of the direction of how you're going to take care of your life. Because the reality is, there are so many people that have their own problems and stress that they have to deal with. They don't really have the attention to really care about you or pay attention to you. And when you're in the shits, you either pick yourself up or So that was a really suffocating time for myself, and to make myself feel a little better, I took a week-long trip to New York. First trip there in about 6-7 years. I basically fucked around with some friends. I went to a bunch of places, and I fell in love with the versatility and the opportunities the city could possibly present. And it gave me that little motivation and drive to promise myself in 5 years I would somehow make my way to New York. I had no concrete outline or plan to do that, but that was probably the one thing that got me going. The first thing I did was to start my sobriety. I stayed sober for about 1.5 years until I was comfortable to be drinking in a social setting without any risks of abusing it in a negative way. I felt unfulfilled in what I was studying in college, so I left the program. Overall, it just gave me no joy, just all suffering, and I didn't really see myself viably doing this for the next 30-40 years. Honestly, I never looked back. Great decision. Wonderful decision. I spent my final year of college taking theater and production classes. I have a design background. How the fuck did I end up there? It was just the first time ever asking myself, what interested me? What did I want to do? Taking these classes made me happy, fulfilled. I met a lot of new people. And even though it was a very long shot to find media or production work after graduating, I got through multiple rounds of the prestigious NBC Page program where I could jumpstart this pipe dream of my career and live in New York. My mental health was recovering well, and I was just having one of the best times of my life until the campus shut down because they don't want people to die. So I permanently moved back home to California. NBC was freezing their interviews, so I spent my final semester kind of half-assing my classes, doing the minimum, and graduating through Zoom. The rest of that summer, I didn't do a single damn thing to progress in my life. All I did was wait and just find out what the next steps were for NBC. And this is where I learned another hard lesson. It is important to take risks, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. I didn't have that when I got rejected in the final round of NBC. And I absolutely hate rejection, but looking back, that was a really good thing for me. I think I just really wanted the prestige and the idea of living in New York, working for NBC, when in reality that program is like $11 an hour, 6 days a week, no benefits, no insurance. I would have been living on the streets. So with the lockdown still in place and no clue what I was going to do with my future, I do my go-to thing to waste time, which is just watch a bunch of YouTube videos. And I came across a video called A Day in the Life of a UX Designer. And I thought, cool, this looks fun. If you're wondering how I became a UX designer, was YouTube. And for the rest of my age 22 year, I took a boot camp, I built a portfolio, I just grinded, began endlessly applying for jobs, and I was mentally exhausted. I was confined in my room for a year at this point. I was having absolutely no fun. I had no friends to socialize with. I really felt I was missing out on my 20s. My mental health was going in a really dark place again, and I knew I needed to do something to like change a little bit of my routine, or else I was gonna go fucking insane. So what I did was I began making videos and I started uploading them on YouTube. And YouTube at that time was like something I've wanted to do for about 1 to 2 years and just never pulled the trigger on it. And it wasn't completely foreign to me. I had a YouTube in high school that I have since deleted. This at least gave me an avenue to talk about my frustrations, talk about my thoughts, my interests, my ideas. And it was a really great avenue for me to stay involved in content creation and digital media production that I began pursuing back in college. And making these YouTube videos made me realize another lesson that I learned in my 20s is to embrace the journey and the struggle in reaching your goals. You know, each day of grinding and working hard might not look like anything on paper right now. Like, heck, my first YouTube video is how I wasted an entire year doing nothing. In the end, like, it will turn yourself into a much better person. And when you get to your goals and when you achieve it, it's just like you kind of forget about the shit moments before. But despite that, I was beginning to burn out and starting to lose a lot of the drive in job hunting and finding work as a UX designer. So I did what I knew was best for my health. I took a week-long trip to New York City. I didn't have to worry about being confined or applying to jobs for a week. I just went out, I had fun, I began a relationship around the time of that trip, and after, I returned home with a much clearer mind, and about a month later, I signed an offer at a startup. The second I inked my signature, I packed all of my things, and I finally made the move to Baltimore. Hey, I thought your goal was to move to New York. It was, and it still was at the time. I just had the chance to live with 2 of my closest college friends in Baltimore, and yeah, so why not, right? So that summer, when I was 23, I felt like I was doing all the things that I felt like I missed out on in my entire 20s. I was doing all kinds of things in New York and in Baltimore. I just got into raving, and shortly after, I was going through another breakup. And this is where the second half of this year was incredibly crucial for my personal development. I questioned a lot then about the kind of person that I was, my behavior, my insecurities, my attachment styles. And from there, I really began working on becoming inherently a better person, trying to be more confident, trying to be more complete, trying to be less reliable on people to be happy. And I never knew this coming in, but Baltimore became such a safe space for me to be able to recover and work on myself. I began learning how to stretch my comfort zone, take more personal risks, and enjoy being my own company and building up my own confidence. And this does tie into my rave journey, which I made a video called How to Build a Rave Family. I made this back in October, which I explained that journey in pretty good detail, and it does relate to what I am talking about. But because of that, I'm not really going to talk about that again. And everything really culminated into these past 12 months, which have been one of the best and craziest years of my f***ing life. I am currently in a new long-term relationship. A lot of the friends that I hang out with the most, I have made within the past year. I also began therapy, which I have tried and failed at therapy 3 times previously throughout my 20s. I've just had a lot of trust issues when it came to therapy, and I finally found one that stuck with me and I've been able to consistently work with. And I think from there I learned that, it's okay if it doesn't work out the first or second time. When the right opportunity comes, be considerate of taking that chance. You never know when something you try finally sticks, and therapy has really helped me assess my emotions, my mental health, and my week to week essentially. And the final thing, which comes full circle, is that I fulfilled the promise that I made to myself when I was 20, and I finally made the move to New York a year earlier than my own deadline. It's just a personal milestone that I can check from my bucket list. I spent the rest of it just hanging out with friends. I'm going out on dates. I'm partying at festivals. I'm traveling to new places. I've even expanded my digital content to TikToks. Everything has been wonderful. And then I got laid off. And the past 2 months have been incredibly stressful. It's a very similar job hunting process as 2 years ago, but right now we're just in a shittier economy and a much higher pool of talent looking for jobs because all of us are laid off. It is a bit bittersweet going into 25. It is not the most stable at this moment, but the overall takeaway that I've learned in the past 5 years and that I can try to apply right now: shit happens. Your life has your ups and downs. There are gonna be things that are out of your control that are going to affect you for better or for worse. And it's up to you to consider these shitty moments as opportunities, try to pick yourself up, and navigate your journey back into something positive. Much easier said than done. I can personally relate. I don't regret most of the decisions that I have made within the last 5 years, but in the beginning, I almost gave up on my life. And knowing how my life has turned out to this point, that would have been one of my biggest regrets. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you later. Bye.